This video is for anyone who is like I was for most of my life: atheist, skeptical, questioning, and feeling stuck. Especially people who, like me, were born Christian and whose parents took you to church often, and maybe you believed in it a little when you were younger, or maybe you never did, and maybe, like me, you reached a point where you realized, this really isn't working for me. I really can't believe this stuff anymore. And maybe, like me, the church felt or feels oppressive to you. It feels like there are too many rules and telling you how you're supposed to be and what a good person looks like. And so, whether it was from Christianity or another religion, maybe you feel turned off by all that. Like there's something about organized religion that doesn't work for you. And so maybe you've just become kind of agnostic and questioning, or maybe you've gone really strong atheist, like I did. So I was that way for 20 years. And then over time, I began to open up again and feel this kind of nihilism, this emptiness inside me, and questioning. I wanted to figure out, is there something else out there to kind of fill this void inside me? And I did a lot of investigation of religions and spiritual systems, and eventually I settled on Zen Buddhism. And so now I'm a practicing Zen Buddhist who takes it pretty seriously. And I'm still open to other traditions as well. I really like Hinduism and Judaism and other things too. And that's a really cool thing about Zen is it doesn't require you to just be a strict Zen Buddhist. At least the more kind of open, progressive variety of Zen that I'm part of here in Portland, Oregon, in the U.S. And so in my tradition, you can totally be a Zen Buddhist and also something else, also exploring other things too. You could even theoretically be a Christian and believe in God and believe in Jesus and whatever, all that stuff, and also practice all the techniques of Zen Buddhism, because Zen is a very practical system about how to reduce your own suffering in this lifetime and become more kind of awakened yourself to the truth of reality. And maybe you discover the truth of reality is God and Jesus. Who knows? It's up to you. But what I want to talk about today is the idea of mysticism and kind of the difference. One of the core things that I love about many Eastern traditions, especially Zen Buddhism, that to me feels very different from the Christianity that I grew up with and many other organized religions. And I want to be careful here because there are many forms of Christianity, and I think some of them are quite lovely. As an adult, as I've been exploring religions, I've visited some very progressive, social justice-oriented Christian churches here in Portland that have really seemed incredibly loving and open and caring and compassionate and really following Jesus's core message, right, of love everyone and turn the other cheek. When someone hurts you, you don't hurt them back. You try to love them, right? And unfortunately, a lot of mainstream Christianity does not feel that way today. It does not feel like they're following Jesus's teachings at all. But yeah, I just want to say that I certainly don't believe that all Christianity or all organized religion is bad. But a lot of the clients that I work with have a very similar experience to me, that they grew up with Christianity and now they are agnostic and now they are feeling like they want something else. They're looking for some other type of spiritual answer. And sometimes they might not even like that word spirituality anymore. It might feel like a dirty word. And so they might talk about existential questioning, for example. All right, so back on topic here. The thing that I want to talk about today is mysticism. If you haven't studied this, it might sound like kind of a woo-woo thing, right? Like a mystic is someone who like sees visions and, might seem a little crazy or unhinged or something, right? And really what the word means is mysticism is about direct subjective experience of spirituality. Some might say it's about direct contact with the divine. But you don't have to think of it that way. It basically just means that you are experiencing the truth of reality for yourself. So that's very different to me than what many, or perhaps most, forms of Christianity and other organized religions are telling you, which is trust the holy book, trust the priest or the pastor, trust what these other people are telling you. They are telling you what is true about reality, what is true about God, and you should have faith, right? Faith is this really important thing that you might struggle to believe in these things, but you should have faith that because it's written in this book or because you heard it at church, that that is the truth. Whereas in Buddhism, especially Zen Buddhism, what the Buddha really said was, check it out for yourself. I'm not going to claim that I have the right answer for sure that you need to listen to that's going to work for you. He basically said, I went on my own journey of enlightenment. I did a lot of my own work to figure out how to alleviate my own suffering and to try to help others alleviate their suffering. That's what it was all about for him. How do I reduce the suffering of humans? That's what the Buddha's whole personal journey was about, and how he achieved enlightenment. He's basically saying, I can give you some ideas. I can give you some starting points. Here's what worked for me. Here's what worked for my disciples, the people that I kind of directly taught. They were able to reach some really deep state of awakening inside themselves, and they felt like they were able to see more of the truth of reality and more of the truth of self, who they were, who they are deep down, right? And I can offer that to you. Here's a gateway. There are many different gateways to approach truth from. I can kind of open the door and show you, here's a path you might want to walk down through this door, but I can't push you through it. I can't kind of transport you straight to the finish line to enlightenment. All I can say is, here are the first steps on a path, and check it out. Walk down that path for a while, try these techniques that I'm telling you, and if they work for you, cool, keep doing them. Maybe keep coming back to hear more of what I have to say. And if they don't work for you, then find a different path, and that's awesome. And I think the Buddha would agree with this, and what I've found in exploring many religions very seriously, many spiritual systems, talking to a lot of different people who have explored different things, psychedelics, plant medicines, many different paths to truth. What I've come to believe is that we're all looking at the same thing. It's all this kind of mountain of existential spiritual truth. At the top is some kind of awakening experience, right? Some kind of, here is the real truth, the underlying truth of reality. When we peel back everything, here is what the self is, here's what consciousness is, here's what reality is. And it's often covered by all this illusion, all these, cognitive biases and parts of, this conditioning, this programming that we get from growing up in a certain culture. Right? We're told, here's what a good person looks like. Here's what you should want in life. Here's the kind of status symbol that you should crave. Right? So much of Buddhism is kind of peeling that away. Here's what I was told from my parents. Here's what I was told by my teachers, my coaches, the advertising, right? All this. My culture taught me this. But if you peel all that away, then there's an inner knowing. Here's what deep down I know is really the truth of reality. Not what a holy book tells me, not what an advertiser tells me, not what a priest tells me, but what I know deep down. That is the top of the mountain. So it's almost like an inverted mountain that you're kind of going down, 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 all the way to the depths deep inside you of what your inner knowing knows is true. And there are many paths up this mountain or down the mountain, right? And they could be, I think, every religion, every spiritual system is looking at that same kind of peak place, but they all have their own paths up. And sometimes those paths look pretty different. Sometimes they get kind of skewed. Sometimes, especially with big, powerful, organized religions that have been around for a while, it can become hard to separate the original truth that their founders saw, right? Like what Jesus saw when he was meditating in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights or whatever, right? Like he probably found some pretty profound, deep truth in there. If Jesus was real, who knows, right? Same with the Buddha or Muhammad or any of these people, right? They found some deep, deep truth inside themselves. And then over the years, many people who kind of run that institution, that organized religion, have imposed all these other rules and doctrines and rituals and all this stuff. And some of that maybe was out of good intention, and a lot of it was probably to try to build up their own power and, exert control over others. And and so it can be hard sometimes to disentangle that. What is the truth in this religion from what is has been kind of corrupted by the desire for power? And so that, to me, is a fundamental difference between most organized religion and mysticism. Because mysticism is about how do I get the direct subjective experience myself. And mysticism is not a religion. It's an approach, or kind of a subset of a religion or spiritual system. And every major religion has kind of a mystical branch. Like in Judaism, you might have heard of Kabbalah, and in Buddhism, we might say that Zen or perhaps Vajrayana Buddhism are the kind of more mystical branches. And then you've got Sufism is the mystical branch of Islam. In Christianity, there are several, like St. John of the Cross, some other ones. And each of these kind of, came out of that larger culture of Islam or Christianity or Buddhism or whatever. And these were kind of a group of people in there who really wanted to focus less on what the books say, or the scriptures or the sutras or whatever, and more on what is the truth that I can see myself, that I can discover myself. Because ultimately, logically speaking, that is kind of the most trustworthy source, right? At the end of the day, if you were to block out your senses, then you can't know anything about reality, right? You can't know anything about the world out there. Who knows what's true, right? If you can't see anything, you can't hear anything, even if you block out your kind of inner ear sense of balance and feeling gravity and all that, how do you know anything about what's true of reality, right? So really the truth is that all you know is what your senses have told you is true. So you are this consciousness, this awareness, whose only window into reality is the sensory experience. And that includes what others have told you, what you've seen, right? And so that's kind of one method of figuring out truth, is listening to things, listening to what people say, reading things, looking around, right? But Buddhism would really encourage you, this is kind of what meditation is about, right? It's about closing your eyes, kind of closing the sensory experience, and really investigating internally as deeply as possible what is true inside. Because that is kind of the direct knowing, the direct source of information is, what do I see myself? What do I feel myself? And, Buddhism also encourages kind of somatic sensory experiences as well. Like, what happens when I rub my fingers together? What happens when I hear a sound of a car passing by? What happens when I blur my eyes a little, or kind of I look at the tree over there? How do I know that the tree is actually over there and not right here, right? I'm like seeing the pixels of the tree right here in my eyeball. So how do I actually know the tree's there and not right here? So I love that Zen really challenges, like, you think your senses are telling you this, but if you really investigate in great detail, what can you actually know for sure? So that's a lot of Zen, is investigating again and again, challenging everything. Do you actually know that's true? And that's what I love about it, right? That, sure, you can be inspired by what others have said, right? Certainly Zen appreciates all the writings of the Buddha and other Zen teachers over the years, right? You're encouraged, of course, to read the sutras, to listen to podcasts about Buddhism, or talk to other practitioners, or work with a teacher, or right? All that's very helpful. But at the end of the day, a good Buddhist book or a good Buddhist teacher will tell you, here's some ideas, but check it out for yourself. Investigate it for yourself. See what feels really deeply true. And in my experience, often it's surprising. And often it takes a while to really get there, because we're bombarded with so much stimulation in the world today, right? And so this is one of the big benefits of going on long silent meditation retreats. when I went on my first 10-day silent Buddhist meditation retreat. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it really opened me up to, oh my God, this is what's true about reality. After days of meditating all day, my mind got so quiet. It was able to kind of tune out all that out there, and I could feel this whole inner world opening inside me. It was like finally, like this light is shining down in this place that's been dark for most of the time because it's been drowned out by all this light from out here. And so finally I could look around inside. What is the self? What am I really? I'm not just a brain. I'm not just a body. I'm not just my thoughts. There is something observing all of those things. There is an awareness that is separate from all that is able to watch it. Right? I'm able to observe my thoughts happening. I'm able to observe my thoughts arising and fading away. That is not a thought. That is a separate mechanism that is observing the thought. And that's an abstract concept. You might agree with that theoretically, but it's something very different to really practice again and again in silence, examining that. What is this thing? What is this thing? For hours and hours every day. And finally, something was really able to blossom in me where I was able to see, holy crap, this is what the true self is. This is the true nature of reality. I know that sounds kind of woo-woo, but I think it's really important. I mean, what is more important than figuring out the truth of reality and the truth of self, right? Because otherwise, you're just going through life blind, right? You're going through with the programming, the default programming that your culture has given you. You should care about this. You should care about making more money, about making more status. You should want this. This is what should make you happy. But then what happened for me and with a lot of my clients is they realized after a while, like, wait, I've achieved career success, I've checked all the boxes, and I'm still not actually happy. I'm still not fulfilled. So many people come to me feeling stuck. Like I did all the things I'm supposed to do, and it doesn't feel right. It still feels like I'm missing something. And to me, this is what you're missing. You're missing mysticism. You're missing a direct subjective experience of reality, of the truth. And I certainly don't want to sound like some cult leader here, right? I know that this might sound kind of woo, so I'm not at all claiming that I know the truth. I'm not going to tell you, here's the right answer. All I want to do for you is, just like the Buddha, show you there are many doorways. There are many first steps on different pathways to finding the truth. And I've studied a lot of this, so when I work with clients, I can show them, here's one first step you can take. Here's one doorway you might try. And we all have different doorways that can work for us. For some of us, it has to be a very kind of learning-oriented exercise, like reading books or listening to podcasts. For some people, it's a very, they prefer more kind of ritualistic things, like it might involve like, everyday drumming or, using music in some way or using incense, smells, different things. For some people, it's all about following a specific habit pattern of I'm going to meditate every day. I'm going to practice mindfulness in this specific way. For some people, it's, they want something more extreme. I'm going to go fly out to India or Bali or, I'm going to go meditate in a cave for a while or find some guru to train me or, subject my body to intense practices to kind of, cause something to kind of shake loose inside me. Right? There are many, many approaches to awakening, to finding truth. But I think the most basic one is mindfulness. Really slowing down, tuning out all this programming that you've received so you quiet the mind and really check, what do I know is true inside me? And so for a lot of people who come to me looking for help on what is the meaning of life, what is my life purpose, I tell them, like, yeah, there's some tools I can give you. There's some advice I can give you for figuring that out from kind of the outside in. But a lot of this has to be an inner journey. There's some part of you deep down inside that knows what the purpose is, that knows what the meaning is. And you need to quiet down all this outer stuff so that you can find that meaning and that purpose inside. All right, so I hope that this video inspires you to be curious about the idea of mysticism and direct experience. And if you've kind of written off religion, then perhaps this might inspire you to investigate some Eastern religions or Eastern spiritual systems and perhaps give it another chance to find ones that feel less oppressive, less regimented, less telling you kind of here is the required right way, and more ones that are open-ended. Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, there are many that kind of say, well, there are many paths. You need to find the one that works for you. And yeah, I'm happy to be a guide as well. If there are any questions you want to ask me, or if you want to work with me one-on-one, then I can support you in your journey. So thanks for watching, and I hope you have a nourishing day.